Hey guys, it's Sasha, and today I'm here with my Red Queen review. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, and this is my reread review for Red Queens. This is my second time reading Red Queen. So I'm going to be doing my reviews how I usually do them. I'm going to leave in the description section below the different sections that I'm going to be talking about if you want to skip ahead. I picked up Red Queen because I wanted to delve back into the world before I started Glass Sword. I heard about it when it first came out, all the hype that was surrounding it, and when I went away to this homeschool conference last year in Florida, I picked it up and I read it and I really loved it. It was one of my first YA fantasy dystopian things, like really getting into the YA dystopian genre. Red Queen is about these two different types of people. They're the same except for their blood. One type of people has silver blood and the other type has red blood. And the book is centered around a girl named Mare who has red blood, but as it turns out she has special powers, and then she gets wrapped up in the royal family, which is from silver blood, and just a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens from there. It's not gonna work. Here is my copy of Red Queen if you're curious. It's hardback. It's from Harper Teen. I feel like one of the major themes in Red Queen was that life is not just in black and white, it's in gray. Another theme is one of the most obvious YA themes, a coming of age. Mare is already very much aware of the world and her place in it, but as the book goes on, she starts to realize that things are not always as they seem. My expectations the first time in this book were extremely high, and this time I was reading the book they were also pretty high because I remember really loving this book. Did I really love this book still? Check that out when we get to the things I liked. I really liked the way it was written. I thought it was straightforward and simple, easy to understand. I don't think it was pretty and flowery and beautiful, but I do think it wasn't horrible, choppy, and all those things. I really liked the world building in this, especially in the beginning. In the beginning, it reminded me of like 1600s European village meets modern day, because when they talk about the stilts, they describe it of like sort of like a peasant village, but yet they have electricity and there's jets, trains, but then they also have simple transportation such as boats and other stuff like that. Another thing I liked in here was all the plotting and manipulating. I loved all the twists and turns, and I really liked not knowing who you could trust. Another thing I liked was the ability building. I felt that Victoria Aveyard did a really good job with building up the different high houses and their abilities. She really put a lot of thought and preparation and time into building up each of the houses, their abilities, the colors, and really explaining it well to you, not just saying, okay, the silvers have abilities, here are the different types of houses, and then just leaving it off to the side. She really brought it back each time and explained it really well in depth. The king was really one-dimensional at first in the beginning of the book, but at the end of the book, he really gets a three-dimensionalness. However, that was only for like a couple of pages. I really liked that part with the king at the end of the book. If y'all have read this book, then y'all know what I'm talking about. I felt like he wasn't so tropey at that part. The next thing I liked was the plot, and the characters for me outweighed all the cliches and tropes in this book. I thought the plot and how well it was done and my excitement for this book really outweighed all the bad stuff in this book. The first chapters for me in Red Queen were a little bit slow, but I think that's because she was taking her time to like build up the world around you, but I still feel like it was a little too slow to get into the book. Like the first 50 pages or so were just slow, but then it started to really spring off from there. I felt like Kilron, anyway, the best friend. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name exactly, but I felt he didn't really, in this book, I'm not sure about in Glass Sword or in any of the other books, but I felt like he was just there. He wasn't really serving any much of a purpose except to be a little, like, part of like a love triangle or a love square or whatever you want to call it, and that's going on in this book. Sort of reminded me of Gale from the Hunger Games. In fact, a couple of this thing in the book sort of reminded me about the Hunger Games, mostly how they had this radiated area in the country. It sort of reminded me of like District 13 in the Hunger Games and how nobody went there. Mayor sort of reminded me of Katniss. Oh, there was a couple other Hunger Games-y types things in there, but I didn't really pick up on those. But however, I did watch this one review and she was going more into depth about what she thought and how Hunger Games it was. Stuff were like, it's very similar to the Hunger Games, I feel. I felt like some of the other characters were very cliche. I won't go into them, but the queen was very cliche, I felt, and some other characters you'll meet later on in the book. Some people who are silvers, they felt very cliche to me. There was no 3 dimensions to them. They were just very one-dimensional, very flat. Some questions. Anybody want to answer them for me? These are non-spoilerly questions. Silver and red blood. How did the different people get to be where they are? How did they get to be so different? I would recommend it to people who are really starting out in YA fantasy dystopian, but people who are really well read in YA fantasy dystopian might not really like this book because of the tropes, or they still might like it like I do because of the plot and how the characters overshadow, how well it's done, how they overshadow the tropes and the character stuff for me. I'd recommend it to people who like YA fantasy dystopian. I feel like it's a really good book and I really enjoyed it regardless of the tropes and cliches. So I guess you could call me Red Queen trash, I don't know. But that's all for now. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.